So Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves has had its open weekend. And now we can kind of get an idea of where it's going to go. And, well, spoiler alert, not very far. I want to show you some comparisons here. So it actually did do better than what people were thinking it was going to do. It ended up making $71 million worldwide. And if this was a normal stretch where the theater wasn't jam-packed with a movie every weekend, I looked at the release charts for 2023, and there is actually a lot of stuff coming out this year. It's almost so packed that movies are going to cannibalize each other, and that's exactly what's going to happen with Dungeons & Dragons. I want to show you something. So this is the first weekend totals worldwide for Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. It's at 71 million. Now let me show you Shazam. Shazam, as of right now, and this is after being out since March 17th, it's only at 119 million. I don't remember exactly what this movie released to. So it released to like 30 million worldwide, which is pretty close to what Dungeons & Dragons did just domestically. I think this is just domestic. Yeah, so its opening was 30 million worldwide. And Dungeons & Dragons opening, or not, the 30 million was North America for Shazam. Dungeons & Dragons opening was 33 million, so it did 3 more. It's going to have the same kind of path here domestically. The only difference is this movie did a little bit better internationally, which I'm honestly not that shocked about. I think it was like the Warcraft movie did really good in China. So sometimes these movies, at Pacific Rim, actually, the reason that movie got a sequel is because it did good in China. So sometimes the international market can pick these things up a little bit. However, the problem that this movie is going to have is one of the same problems Shazam had, and that's that, like, Shazam had John Wick come in and knock it down, and Dungeons & Dragons is going to have Mario come in and kneecap this movie with a crowbar. This movie also has a lot of things working against it, particularly this dumb shit that the writing team came out and said during an interview. I don't know why you would do this. Now, this turned a lot of people off to seeing this movie, to be honest, saying it intentionally emasculates its leading men. Now, what's funny about this is a couple of people that I'm sure a lot of you watched have come out and said they liked it. Some people have come out and said they didn't like it. So I do hear mixed things about it. But when I read this headline back in March 1st, it immediately turned me off to seeing the movie. Because this is the same headline that we've seen time and time again. But from what I hear, it's really not that bad. But I've heard some people say it is. So it's tough to judge it yet. The comments on this video are going to be very interesting because there's going to be a lot of people are saying they loved it. I guarantee it actually. And there's going to be a couple of people saying they didn't like it. And that's fine. If you like it, you like it. But this headline, I'm tired of this shit. These writing teams and these directors running around and saying stupid shit, they need to stop doing this. Like, this doesn't, what this does is it might intrigue a handful of people, but you also turn off another handful of people. The best thing you could do is just talk about the movie and make it sound as fun as possible. Don't try to make it sound woke in any way possible. Because you don't really, the gain you might get from that, if any, and I know there's a reason Get Woke, Go Broke exists, you're going to just turn off a large portion of the audience. It's doing that does. Just don't do this then. And I just don't see why these people, they're so excited to virtue signal. All these people in Hollywood. It destroys their shit. But I don't consider this a win. This movie's on the same path as Shazam. And what's really funny is when you look at the headlines for this movie. So when Shazam was in the theaters, They were calling it a disaster and it's a bomb. But with Dungeons and Dragons, the language from the critics is, oh, it's surprising, or it's plundering the box office. They're playing ball with it, which is funny. A week or two ago, the numbers this movie was making was considered disastrous, but now it's a surprise. It's just funny to watch, and when you really pay attention to how these clowns work, you notice things like these, and you can get a good chuckle out of them. But Dungeons and Dragons is not a hit. I've seen some spins on this. It's not a hit. This movie has a bigger budget than Shazam does, by the way. I doubt it's going to make that money back because you know what comes out in 2 days, on Wednesday, in fact, into Easter? Mario. Mario is going to wreck this movie so bad. I don't know if it'll ever come back because this movie is a true family movie. It's a very loved character. I just don't see this movie not making loads of money. Unless it's shit, then maybe we'll be having a different conversation. But I don't think it's going to be bad. I don't think it's going to be bad. I think it's going to be good, actually, and I think it's going to be surprisingly good, and it's going to make a ton of money, and everyone's going to forget about Dungeons and Dragons. It's just a fact. Well, it's not a fact yet, but in time it will be. But it's funny to see this movie get praised like it is for what it's made. It's not making that much money. And it's going to have a massive drop. A massive drop. But I like how this is phrased over here on Cosmic Book News. While sites like Deadline and THR kept reporting this weekend that Dungeons and Dragons would open to 40 million, making it sound like a big success, so everyone would think it's good and rush to see the theaters. Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves opened less than 40 million and is now reported to have brought in 38.5 million. And of course, the trades are even comparing things with the pandemic again, which is so desperate and hilarious. Let's not forget Paramount actually debuted D&D on Sunday and had screenings on Wednesday and Thursday, which all counted towards the Friday and weekend opening numbers. So the numbers were inflated and are simply just nothing to write home about. And that's 100% true. They were doing a lot of that. A lot of people were already seeing this movie. I did something with this last week, and I showed you the Rotten Tomatoes was up before the nationwide opening. You already could go and see Rotten Tomato numbers. And I think that one of the reasons they did all that is because they were confident that people would enjoy the movie. Because I do hear a lot of people enjoying this movie. This movie's going to need a lot of good word of mouth to make any money. Because, like I said, I don't think that this movie can compare to the juggernaut that is Mario. And guess who was still number 2? John Wick. Or not, John Wick 4 was number 1. Now, John Wick 4 is going to move to number 2 next weekend, thanks to Mario. But that means Dungeons and Dragons is going to get moved to number 3. And if Mario's going to take a lot of screens, John Wick is going to take a lot of screens. This also means that Dungeons and Dragons going to be shown on less screens. So it's already going to be handicapped right there. This movie is going to be a massive flop. And, I don't feel bad for him. Stop coming out and saying stupid things that turns people off to your movies, especially if it's really not as bad as, so from what I hear, this intentionally emasculates its leading men. It's not that bad. That's what I've heard. I'm just being honest. I don't know if that's true. I haven't seen it. I don't plan on going to see it, to be honest. I will watch it eventually, but if I'm going to go see a movie, I'm going to go see Mario. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. I'm not even I don't even really like Dungeons and Dragons, so I like fantasy movies, but not ones that emasculate men. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. Also, if you would please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed, hit that notification bell. Check out my Rumble and Locals, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Make sure to check out my Locals. There's a link in the description. It's a fun community that I'm trying to build over here. If you don't want to support me on YouTube, you can come over here None of that money goes to YouTube. You also can just come over here for free. But if you are a supporter over here, I do plan on doing an extra live stream once a month and throwing links to the supporters so you can actually come on and have a supporter live stream with me. Also, it's a good place to catch all of my content. You don't have to worry about notifications like YouTube. They'll definitely work over here. So come check out my locals.